Okay, I'd like to... Is this microphone on? Yeah, it seems to be working, right. I'd like to now look at some, it's not all of them, but some array methods that is available. The first is that of the function minimum. So to understand this, you should think of this array as some other array object that has been previously defined. So this array stands for the name of that object, right? So the command array.min with round brackets but nothing inside the brackets will calculate the minimum value in the array. And since I have an assignment num equals array, num is just a name for a variable. So this assignment will calculate the minimum value in the array and assign it to the variable num, or the object num. Right. So this makes life a little bit easier. Sometimes you want to calculate the minimum value, so this is a way, instead of you looking at the values, it's done computationally. Right. In the same way, max with round brackets, nothing inside, but of course the array must be an array that has been defined, called by its name. We'll calculate the maximum number in the array and it will assign that to the variable num. And you can calculate the mean of a lot of values in an array with a name array, and it will then assign that to the variable num. Then there are also some array functions. Let's say I've got an array that was previously defined and it was assigned the name array. This is a numpy function, np.sum array will add up all the elements in the array and give me the sum of all those values as an answer. So of course if I just have in a Python cell this, it will do that and it will print it out to the screen, but then it's lost. So if I want that, the sum of all the values, I need to put some other variable equals. So the way that some other variable name on the left-hand side equals np_sum array. That will then calculate the sum of the array and assign that value to the variable that you had on the left-hand side. Likewise, the function, and this is not a numpy function, it's actually a Python function, len of array. Array is once again an array that has been defined before. Len array tells you how long is the array, how many values are they in the array. And this may not be too clear why we want to do this now, but it will become clearer later on when we use this. Then quite similar to len array is the command array.shape. Once again, array here is now considered as some other array that you have already defined. So if you do array.shape, it will return to you a tuple, in other words, numbers between round brackets, which are the dimensions of the array. So we've up to now just worked with one-dimensional arrays. So let's say we have a one-dimensional array with 5 elements. This command, if I put this command in my Python cell and it's executed, will print to the screen a bracket, and then, what did I say, 5 elements in the array. So it'll be bracket, 5, comma, and then nothing, close bracket. Because there isn't a second dimension, it's a one-dimensional array, it will do that. Of course, later on when we get to multi-dimensional arrays, it will be bracket, the first dimension, comma, the second dimension, comma, the third dimension. So the dimension is really like the length in that dimension. So for a one-dimensional array, len array will give me a single number, which is the length of the array, and the number of elements in the array, whereas shape.array will give me the same answer, except it will be inside the brackets. Right. Okay, so I think next, this is illustrated. So in this cell, we import numpy as np, and we define 2 arrays, A1 and A2. I think it's actually the same arrays that we've defined before. In record 5 and 6, we're going to print it, both of them. In record 8, then, we're going to calculate the minimum value of array 1. And the question that I didn't catch a little while earlier about the printing, the student asked, why do I have this in red? So it's important to understand that what is in red here is actually the well, it's not really a definition. Well, you can think of it as a definition inside the print statement. It's not a definition in the sense that the object is created. No object is created in Python, but at least there's a string inside the print command, the print function that's going to be printed to the screen. So everything between, it defines a string, so everything between the inverted commas are the elements of the string. And so with this then, it's going to print to the screen everything I've highlighted now, everything between the inverted commas. Of course, when I print a string, it doesn't print the inverted commas, it just prints the string itself. So everything that's in red here is the inside the print command's definitions of strings. And then the second argument passed to the print command here is, in this case, for array 1 dot min, its minimum value. And in record 9, the maximum value of array 2. And in record 10, the mean of array 2. And in record 11, the sum of all the elements in array 1. In record 12, the length of array 1. And in record 13, the shape of array A1. Right. So let's execute this. Sorry, I think I now said every time array 1, etc., or array 2, I meant to say array A1 and array A2, right? So please forgive me that error. So let's execute this cell. So I'm scrolling down so that you can simply see the print statements. So this here is the result of the print statement in record 5. So it just reports on what is array A1. And of course, this reports, like in record 6, it's the result of record 6, the elements of array 2. And then A1.min, it's the result of record 8. And so indeed, we see that the smallest number in array A1 is 1, so that's at least correct. And then this record is the result of record 9, the maximum value in array 2. And if we inspect array 2, we see that this is clearly correct. Then this is the result of, let's try again. This is the result of record 10, the mean of array 2, and it's 4.5. Now, okay, that's not so obvious. You'll have to calculate that to confirm that it's correct, but I'm sure it's correct. Then this one here is the result of record 11, the sum of all the elements in array 1. Okay, that's not too difficult to calculate because 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 3 is 13, plus 1 is 14. So there the answer is certainly correct. Then this here is the length of array A1, the result of record 12. And it tells us that array A1 has got 4 elements. And then as I've said, if I use the A1.shape command, the output is a tuple, 4 comma between brackets. Now, by the way, on Tuesday, I mentioned to you that I'll make a little recording still about the tuples. It's some new stuff that I added to that notes. It wasn't discussed in the section 3 notes before. But we briefly talked about the tuple on Tuesday afternoon. But I've made that recording in the meantime, and I've made that available on ClickUp with Tuesday's recordings. So if you're not sure what's a tuple, perhaps just look at the last recording under Tuesday's recordings. But so the output of the A1 shape command is a tuple in which the first element is the dimension and the first is the length in the first dimension. And since there are no second or third dimensions, so just have a comma with nothing else, and the brackets is closed because it's a tuple. Okay, any questions on this?